Hey, shalom, shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory that's due to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, who all learned this truth from him who drew well. Peace and salutations to the 144,000 and the rest of the elect. Unto you I say shalom. Coming to you back with another lesson through the Spirit. And I'm entitled this one, A Famine of Food and Water is Coming. Because majority of these Babylonians, these Americans, these people in the world, they're getting ready to celebrate the Super Bowl, one of the biggest events here in Babylon, the Great America. And what does the Super Bowl consist of? Stuff in your face, till you blue in the face, till you about to blow up. And that's what these Americans are about to do. And that's what they're so used to. Just constantly being fed all day, every day. 5-6 meals a day, snacks in between. They don't drink no damn water. All they drink is Coca-Cola and fast food. And even these people who do eat real foods, they think that these foods are going to be readily available for the rest of their lives. But if they would really pay attention, they would understand that there's a man-made famine about to be created. A famine of food, a famine of water. With Esau Edom behind it, he was burning all these food processing plants, herding the cattle and allowing those cargo shipments to be out in the ocean with food just sitting there, rotting away, because this famine is going to be by design. Ultimately, is Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai that's in control of it, but he's going to put the spirit on Esau Edom, the self-proclaimed white man, to take these people's food away. Because when you take the bread and circus away, that's when people finally bug out. When you take their entertainment, when you take their McDonald's and their Popeyes and their White Castle, that's when people finally bug out. And that's what it's going to take for these people to finally lose it. Because when your stomach is not touching your ribs, you're really not thinking about, McDonald's. You just want to get some food in your system. But it's going to get to the point where Esau Edom is going to create that famine so he could implement that MOTB as a solution, because that's how a lot of people are going to fold. They're going to fold when they haven't ate in 2-3 days. And even the members of the hopeful elect are going to be put in certain situations. But Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai is going to deliver them, because ultimately they made Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai their covering, not no damn Esau Edom, not no Babylonian system and all this bullshit that the system provides. Dainties and all that American lifestyle that it pushes onto these people. Constantly stuffing your face, never fasting. These Americans, they don't know what a fast is. All they know is breakfast. And how do they break their fast? With breakfast is, first thing in the morning on the drive-thru, the McDonald's line, they get 5 McMuffins. This is 2nd Ezra chapter 15 and verse 1. Behold, speak thou in the ears of my people the words of prophecy. And who are the people of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, the Israelites, the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, which I will put in thy mouth, said the Lord. Verse 2, and cause them to be written in paper, for they are faithful and true. And all throughout the scriptures, there's been famine after famine, especially towards the nation of Israel, during the time of Joseph, when the Egyptians, when Joseph warned the Pharaoh, you're going to have 7 years of plentiful harvest, and then you're going to have 7 years of famine. And then during the time of Ezekiel, during the time of Elijah, if I'm not mistaken, when that king, was walking by that woman and they were asking, it was 2 women and they debating on who they were going to bowl next. Cannibalism is coming back too. But majority of these Babylonians, these Americans, these people in the world, they don't think that all these prophecies are ever going to come to pass because they never really experienced hunger like that before. Verse 3, fear not the imaginations against thee, let not the incredulity of them trouble thee that speak against thee. So all these mockers and scoffers talking about, man, there's not going to be no famine. You crazy. Look at the grocery stores. They're full of goods and all these victuals. Look at the Costco's, stuffed with food. Man, you crazy. That's not going to come to pass. Not knowing that all it takes is one event, the grid going down, the electrical grid, stuff no longer getting moved, all the meats in the frozen sections, spoiling, the fruits and vegetables spoil. That's the first place that these Americans, these Babylonians are going to run to, is these grocery stores, these liquor stores, these pharmacies. Verse 4, for all the unfaithful shall die in their unfaithfulness. So all these 2/3 Israelites here in America and wicked Jake, wherever they may be scattered throughout the four corners of the earth, they're going to die in their unfaithfulness. They're going to die in their unbelief of all these prophecies are never going to come to pass. That already happened. That happened in the ancient world. That's not going to come to pass. Look at all the technology. Look at AI and automation, which is, crazy because you have all the technology and this should be able to make food at a cheaper price. But it's the complete opposite. It's constantly going up in price. Now you got to pay damn near $30 for a Big Mac. A couple years ago, you had to pay like $20 for a carton of eggs. Letting you know that we're about to hit hyperinflation, but majority of these people, they're not expecting it. They think that everything is normal. But that's how Yahweh Bashim Yahushua wants these people. He wants them comfortable. He wants them, settle on their lead. So when he does come with that famine, it's gonna hit them hard. It's gonna be that blind side punch that you weren't expecting. Verse 5, behold, saith the Lord, I will bring plagues upon the world, the sword, famine, death, and destruction. And all these things that are about to happen up on the planet Earth. Who's the sword of Yahweh Bashim Yahushua is Esau, Edom. You already starting to see this devil starting to come down upon our people. Starting with the northern kingdom, but it's to the point where he's just going to start coming down upon all these Americans, all these Babylonians. And that's what's happening over there in Minneapolis, Minnesota. It says famine. That's already been brewing up for the past couple of years. And one day it's just going to hit all at once. It says death and destruction because that's what's going to happen. A lot of people are going to be fighting each other for their groceries, their goods. They're going to rob their neighbor, so on and so forth, because there's not going to be enough food. Jump down to verse 49, 2 Ezra 15 and verse 49. And it reads, I will send plagues upon thee, widowhood, poverty, famine, sword, and pestilence, to waste thy houses with destruction and death. And ultimately, this is for the wicked, 2/3 of our people here in America, the wicked of our people that are scattered throughout the four corners of the earth and these heathen nations. Because ultimately how wicked they are, they refuse to acknowledge Yahweh Bashim Yahushua. They refuse to acknowledge that ultimately it's the Lord that provides the daily bread. But these Americans, they're so used to eating every day that if they was to miss one meal, they just completely bug out. These motherfuckers, I haven't eaten in 2 hours. I'm going crazy. I'm hangry. Yeah, these Americans, these Babylonians, they're going to be through. Imagine them not eating 12 hours, fucking a day, 2 days. They're going to completely lose their minds. To the point where they're going to be willing to off their neighbor and go and take their food. They're going to be willing to go to these grocery stores and off whatever person they're trying to get groceries. Whatever people do get the groceries that are left in these stores, there's going to be people waiting outside ready to off them and take their goods. This is 2 Ezra chapter 16 and verse 19. Behold, famine and plague, tribulation and anguish are sent as scourges for amendment. So all these, small famines, there's no longer this type of food anymore in the store. This food's getting expensive. Meat prices, chicken, beef, lamb is constantly going up. It's still Salakia. affordable. It's still somewhat affordable, but one day it's just gonna get to the point where a pack of ground beef, and a carton of eggs and bread is gonna run you up like a couple $1,000s, $5,000. And that's when people are gonna say, man, fuck this. They're just gonna go in and loot these stores. And ultimately all these small inconveniences that are being sent on Babylon the Great. For example, a couple years ago, you had the whole carton of eggs situation. They were like $20-$30. That was just a small sneak peek. That was a sneak peek to show these Americans, these Babylonians, these 2/3 to what's about to happen up on the planet Earth. But majority of people, they just took that, oh, that's no big deal. It came and went. It's not going to come back. It was just a phase. Verse 20, but for all these things, they shall not turn from their wickedness, nor be always mindful of the scourges. So even though all these things are happening around the planet Earth, food processing plants being burnt down, cattle being herded, you got train derailments to being dumped to the ocean, polluting the water, the air is being constantly sprayed with chemtrail. Majority of these people, they see these things, but they don't look at it with a spiritual eye. They think that, oh, it's no big deal. It's just, it's just life. Verse 21, behold, victuals shall be so good cheap upon earth, that they shall think themselves to be in good case, and even then shall evils grow upon earth, sword, famine, and great confusion. And that's how it's going to be. One day it's going to hit people and they're going to be confused. They're going to be startled. They're going to be like, man, where did this come from? Why is this happening? Ultimately, it's Yahweh Bashim Shai sending judgment upon the planet Earth here in America because of the wickedness that goes on in this world. Verse 22, for many of them that dwell upon earth shall perish of famine, and the other that escape the hunger shall the sword destroy. So, like the scripture says, it's better to be put to death by the sword than by famine. And we'll get there real quick. This is Lamentations chapter 4 and verse 9. And it reads, they that be slain with the sword are better than they that be slain with hunger. For these pine away, stricken through for want of the fruits of the field. So it's better to get put to death, get one in the dome by Esau, Edom, and these crazy ass Americans, these Babylonians, than to slowly just suffer an agonizing death, which ultimately that's what being dying of famine is. And that's going to be the grim reality of a lot of people that are so used to having 5 meals a day, snacks in between, being comfortable, being settled on their leads. That's about to come to these people that are chilling. Oh, verse 23, 2nd Ezra 16 and verse 23, and the dead shall be cast out as dung, as poop, shit. And there shall be no man to comfort them, for the earth shall be wasted and the cities shall be cast down. And that's how bad it's gonna be. You're gonna have bodies everywhere, diseases, because nobody's burying these bodies, eating itself. It's gonna be nasty out here. And this is what's about to come up on the planet Earth. But majority of these people, they're not ready for it. They're not ready for these things to happen up on the planet Earth. And that's why it's gonna hit them so hard. Ezekiel chapter 4 and verse 16. Moreover, he said unto me, Son of man, behold, I will break the staff of bread in Jerusalem, and they shall eat bread by weight and with care, and they shall drink water by measure and with astonishment. And this happened in the ancient world during the time of Ezekiel, but how much more now? That these people are unsatiable. They never fasted a day in their life before. So for them to be like, oh, now you can only eat once a day. When the MOTB gets made mandatory, you're going to have rations. You're going to have to eat cricket protein bars and so on and so forth. Verse 17, they that may want bread and water and be astonished one with another and consume away for their iniquity. And that's what's going to happen to these wicked-ass Israelites, so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, and these other heathen nations, because of their iniquity, because refusing to acknowledge Yahweh Bashim Shai, refuse to acknowledge his word being spoken by his mouthpiece, the prophets. So this is what's reserved for these wicked-ass people. But Yahweh Bashim Shai is going to provide for his elect. Like in that movie, Leave the World Behind. Somebody built a bunker with entertainment, food that could last years, but they weren't there to actually use it. It was left for somebody else, and that's what's gonna happen to the elect. There's already provisions set for the elect, like in the movie The Road, when the man and the son, stumbled up on that bunker and they had food, they had strong drink. That's reserved for the prophets. All these doomsday preppers that think that they're gonna actually enjoy what they've been building over the years. No, that's reserved for the prophets of Yahweh Bashim Shai and his believers, his elect, his 1/3 here in America, the 144,000, the large multitude of believers, for the families, the friends, the helps. But other than that, these 2/3 Israelites and these wicked ass heathens, this famine is reserved for them. This is Isaiah 65 and verse 13. Therefore, thus saith the Lord, Yahweh Bashim Shai, behold, my servants shall eat, but ye shall be hungry. Behold, my servants shall drink, but ye shall be thirsty. Behold, my servants shall rejoice, but ye shall be ashamed. And that's what's reserved for these wicked-ass 2/3 Israelites and these wicked-ass jakes that are scattered throughout the four corners of the earth and these heathen nations. But the remnant, the elect, Yahweh Bashim Shai is going to provide. The Lord may allow some members of the elect to go without food a couple days, but ultimately it's to test their faith. They're not going to rely upon this system. They're not going to go down to Egypt for help. They're going to fully put their trust and faith in Yahweh Bashim Shai to keep them. Verse 14, behold, my servants shall sing for joy of heart, but ye shall cry for sorrow of heart, and shall howl for vexation of spirit. So that's how reality is going to hit to these 2/3 Israelites that refuse to hearken unto Yahweh Bashim Shai, that heard the prophets speak about these famines and pestilences. But what did Jake do? They scoffed and mocked. They claimed, oh, that's not going to happen. Not in this lifetime. No, I'm going to continue to go on about my day and mind my own business. But then when this is at your front doorstep, that's when Jake is going to realize, damn, we fucked up. We should have taken heed to Yahweh Bashim Shai. And the elect, they're going to be okay. They're going to be kept in that day. But that's pretty much the point. Praise, this was edifying to the elect. I want to give all praises, honor, and glory that's due to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Shai, Ba'ashem Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of the Great Millstone, who all learned this truth from and who do well. Peace and salutations to the 144,000, the rest of the elect.